The boardroom felt like a funeral. Sarah Chen stood at the head of the glass table, her reflection staring back at her from the polished surface. 12 faces watched her with the kind of pity usually reserved for terminal patients. Behind her, the floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Seattle skyline, but all she could see was the presentation slide burning into her retinas. Revenue down 42%. Customer retention at an all-time low. Stock price in freefall. Ms. Chen. Richard Caldwell spoke first, his voice carrying the weight of old money and older patience. We've given you 18 months, 5 consulting firms, millions in restructuring costs. He paused, adjusting his cufflinks. The board has lost confidence in your leadership. Sarah's hands didn't shake. They couldn't. She'd trained them not 2 years ago, back when showing weakness meant losing everything. But inside, something cracked. 10 years. She'd poured 10 years into building Chen Technologies from a startup in her garage to a company worth $200 million. And now, in less than 2 years, she'd watched it bleed out. I need 90 days, she heard herself say. Caldwell laughed. Actually laughed. 90 days to do what? We've exhausted every option. Sarah looked at each board member in turn. Some avoided her eyes. Others stared back with barely concealed satisfaction. Her father had warned her. A woman your age should be married, settled, not playing CEO. But she'd ignored him, just like she'd ignored everyone who said she couldn't do this. 90 days, she repeated, her voice steady even as her career crumbled. Or I'll resign myself. The room went silent. She gathered her folder, turned toward the door, and walked out with her spine straight and her head high. It wasn't until she reached her car in the underground parking garage that she let her forehead rest against the steering wheel. 90 days to save everything, and absolutely no idea how. Sarah spent the next 3 weeks doing what she always did when cornered. She worked harder. 16-hour days bled into 18, then 20. Her office became a war room plastered with charts, user data, competitor analysis. She brought in a 6th consulting firm, this one from Boston with a reputation for saving dying tech companies. They lasted 4 days before admitting they had no solutions she hadn't already tried. Your product is solid, the lead consultant told her, packing his laptop. Your team is talented, but something's fundamentally broken, and I can't figure out what. $3,000 an hour, and the best he could offer was, I don't know. Her phone buzzed. Mom calling. Sarah declined it for the 3rd time that day. She knew exactly what her mother wanted to discuss. The same thing she'd wanted to discuss for the past 5 years. Sarah's distinct lack of a husband, children, or any life outside this dying company. You're 34, her mother had said last week over dim sum, her Mandarin sharp with disappointment. Your cousin Jennifer just had her 2nd baby. Even your brother found someone. What are you waiting for? Sarah had wanted to scream that she was waiting for her company to stop hemorrhaging money, that she was waiting to prove everyone wrong, that she was waiting for just one thing in her life to work out the way she'd planned. Instead, she'd smiled politely and changed the subject. Now, alone in her office at 9 p.m., Sarah pulled up the customer complaint file for the 1,000th time. Small business owners. That's who was leaving. The mom-and-pop shops, the local retailers, the family restaurants. They'd been Chen Technologies' original customer base, back when she'd designed her inventory management software specifically for businesses that couldn't afford enterprise solutions. But somewhere along the way, chasing growth and venture capital, she'd lost them. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her brother David. I know you're working, he said before she could speak, but Emma's school thing is tomorrow night. You promised. Sarah closed her eyes. Emma, her 7-year-old niece who she saw maybe twice a month if she was lucky. David, I can't. The board meeting is in 67 days and I'm nowhere close to. You promised her, Sarah. She made you a special invitation and everything. It's just 2 hours. Guilt twisted in her stomach. What time? 7. It's a STEM showcase. Emma built a robot out of recycled materials. She's been talking about showing Auntie Sarah for weeks. Sarah looked at her computer screen, at the spreadsheets that held her entire future. Then she thought about Emma's face the last time she'd canceled plans. I'll be there, she said quietly. Harrison Elementary School smelled like floor cleaner and children's artwork. Sarah arrived exactly at 7, still wearing her business suit, feeling overdressed and out of place among the parents in jeans and hoodies. She found David and Emma near the third-grade display tables. "Auntie Sarah." Emma launched herself at Sarah's legs, nearly knocking her over. You came, come see my robot." For the next 20 minutes, Sarah let Emma explain every detail of her creation, a wobbly bot made from cardboard boxes and old circuit boards. She smiled, took photos, and tried very hard not to check her phone. "Pretty impressive, right?" Sarah turned. A man stood beside her, maybe late 30s, wearing a maintenance uniform with Harrison Elementary embroidered on the pocket. He had kind eyes and the sort of easy smile that suggested he actually meant it. "She's brilliant," Sarah said. "Are you one of the teachers?" "Custodian, actually. Marcus Thompson." He extended his hand. "But I help out with the robotics club sometimes." Emma's got real talent. Most kids her age just glue random wires together. She actually understood the circuit logic. Sarah shook his hand, surprised by the genuine pride in his voice for a student who wasn't even his. "She gets it from her dad. David was always good with that stuff." "Daddy was good at building things," Emma piped up. "But Mr. Marcus is better at fixing things. Last week he fixed the whole computer lab when Mrs. Peterson said we'd have to cancel coding class." Marcus laughed, embarrassed. The network switch just needed rebooting. Nothing fancy. But something in Sarah's brain caught on that detail. The whole computer lab was down? Yeah, for 3 days. The IT company they contract couldn't figure it out, kept saying they needed to order new equipment. Marcus shrugged, but it was just a configuration error in the router settings. It took about 10 minutes once I looked at it. Sarah stared at him. "You fixed a network configuration error? Are you sure you're a custodian?" "Now, yes." His smile dimmed slightly. "Used to be a systems engineer, before." He glanced at Emma, who was showing her robot to another parent and didn't finish the sentence. "Before what?" Sarah wanted to ask, but something in his expression stopped her. Instead, she watched him for a moment. This man in a janitor's uniform who apparently had the skills to solve problems that stumped professional IT contractors. An idea began forming. A crazy, desperate, probably doomed to fail idea. "Mr. Thompson," she said slowly, "what are you doing tomorrow?" Marcus Thompson thought the woman was joking at first. She'd called him at 8 the next morning, introduced herself as Sarah Chen, CEO of Chen Technologies, and asked if he'd be willing to consult on a technical problem. When he'd laughed and said she had the wrong guy, she'd offered him $500 for 2 hours of his time. He'd stopped laughing. Now he sat in the most expensive office he'd ever seen, looking at computer screens displaying problems he hadn't thought about in 4 years. Sarah Chen paced behind him, firing off technical details about her inventory management platform while he tried to focus. "The customer complaints are consistent," she was saying. "Small businesses love the core features, but they say it's become too complicated, too many steps to do simple tasks. Our developers keep adding features, but somehow we're losing the users who actually need us." Marcus scrolled through the user interface, clicking through various menus. She was right. The software was solid, but it had been buried under layers of unnecessary complexity. "When was the last time anyone on your team actually ran a small business?" he asked. Sarah stopped pacing. "What? Your developers, your consultants? When's the last time any of them actually had to use software like this in a real store, with real customers waiting with real pressure?" Marcus pointed at the screen. "See this inventory transfer feature? It takes 8 clicks to move products between locations. That's 7 clicks too many when you've got a line of customers, and you need to check if the other store has something in stock." Our focus group said, "Focus groups aren't the same as reality." Marcus pulled up another screen. "And this reporting dashboard. It's beautiful. Lots of graphs and analytics. But the one number a small business owner needs to see first thing in the morning, their cash flow, is buried 3 menus deep." Sarah came around the desk, leaning over his shoulder to look at the screen. She smelled like expensive perfume and coffee. "You figured all this out in 20 minutes? "I ran a small electronics repair shop for 2 years, Marcus said quietly. "Before my wife got sick. Before I had to sell it to pay medical bills. Before I became a guy who mops floors at an elementary school." He couldn't keep the bitterness out of his voice. The room went very quiet. "I'm sorry," Sarah said, and she sounded like she meant it. Marcus shook his head. "It is what it is. Point is, I remember what it's like trying to manage inventory at 6 a.m. before opening, or trying to run reports at midnight after closing. So tired you can barely see straight. Your software used to be perfect for that. Now it's trying to be everything to everyone, and it's forgetting who actually needs it. Sarah pulled up a chair beside him. Can you fix it? Probably, but it's not a 2-hour job. Then what would it take? Marcus looked at her, this impeccably dressed woman with exhaustion in her eyes and desperation in her voice. He recognized that look. He'd worn it himself when the hospital bills kept coming and his savings kept shrinking, and his daughter needed medications they couldn't afford. Why me? He asked. You've got resources. You could hire actual consultants. I've hired 6 firms. They all failed. Sarah met his eyes. You spent 20 minutes with my software and identified problems that 5 Harvard MBAs missed. So I'll ask again, what would it take? Marcus thought about Lily waiting at home with his mother, about the asthma that kept them in and out of emergency rooms, about the insurance that barely covered anything. He thought about stability and benefits and the word permanent. I can't do contract work, he said finally. I've got a daughter. She needs consistency, health insurance, something stable. Done. You didn't even hear my terms yet. Sarah's smile was sharp. Mr. Thompson, my company has 67 days before the board forces me out. You just identified in 20 minutes what 6 consulting firms couldn't figure out in 18 months. So whatever your terms are, they're cheaper than failure. Marcus took a breath. Full-time position. 90-day trial with option to convert to permanent. Salary at $80,000 annually. Full family health insurance, dental, vision, and flexible hours because I have to pick my daughter up from school at 3:30. He waited for her to laugh him out of the office. Instead, Sarah extended her hand. I'll have my HR department draw up the paperwork today. Can you start Monday? Marcus stared at her hand, then at her face, searching for the catch. You're serious. Mr. Thompson, I'm 67 days away from losing everything I've built. I don't have time to not be serious. Her hand stayed extended. Do we have a deal? He thought about Lily's inhaler prescription that cost $300 every month. He thought about the school's health insurance that actually covered specialists. He thought about the possibility, the first real possibility in 4 years, of building something again instead of just cleaning up after other people. Marcus shook her hand. We have a deal. That night, Marcus sat on the edge of Lily's bed, watching her color in a picture of butterflies. So you're not going to be at my school anymore? Lily asked, not looking up from her crayons. I'll still pick you up every day, baby girl. I'm just going to have a different job during the day. Doing what? Helping fix computer problems for a company. Lily looked up then, her dark eyes serious. Like you used to do before Mommy got sick? Marcus's throat tightened. Yes, sweetie, like I used to do. Mommy would be happy, Lily said matter-of-factly, then went back to coloring. She always said you were really good at fixing things. Marcus kissed the top of her head, blinking back tears. Finish your picture, then lights out, okay? In the kitchen, his mother was washing dishes. This woman, she said without preamble. You trust her. I don't know her well enough to trust her. But you're taking the job. Mom, it's $80,000 a year with full health insurance. I'd be stupid not to. His mother turned off the water, dried her hands, and fixed him with the look that had terrified him as a teenager. Marcus Jr. Thompson, you're going to work for a desperate woman trying to save her company. What happens when she fails? When those 67 days run out and you're unemployed again? Then I'm exactly where I am now, Marcus said. Except I'll have had 90 days of good insurance, and Lily will have had 90 days of actual medical coverage instead of the school's bare minimum plan. His mother's expression softened. And if she succeeds? Marcus thought about Sarah Chen's office, about the determination in her voice, about the way she'd looked at him like he was the answer to something instead of just the guy who mopped the floors. Then maybe, he said quietly, I get to be an engineer again. His mother hugged him, smelling like dish soap and the perfume she'd worn for 40 years. Your father would be proud. And your wife, her voice caught. Jessica would be happy you're trying again. Marcus held his mother, thinking about the woman who died 3 years ago, leaving him with a daughter and medical debt and a heart that still hadn't fully healed. I hope so, Mom, he whispered. I really hope so. Upstairs, Lily called out that she'd finished her picture. Marcus climbed the stairs, tucked his daughter in, and tried not to think about everything that could go wrong in the next 67 days. He tried to focus on the one thing that might, against all odds, go right. Marcus's first day at Chen Technology started with a security badge, a laptop, and 12 skeptical faces staring at him in the conference room. "Team," Sarah said, standing at the head of the table. "This is Marcus Thompson. He'll be consulting with us on product redesign for the next 90 days. A woman in designer glasses, her nameplate read Jennifer Wu, lead developer, raised an eyebrow. "What's his background? Which firm is he from?" "He's not from a firm," Sarah said evenly. "He's a former systems engineer with real-world small business experience." "Former?" A guy in a hoodie leaned back in his chair. How former are we talking? Marcus felt heat creep up his neck. This was exactly what he'd been afraid of. These people had computer science degrees from Stanford and MIT. They worked for a company that had been worth $200 million. And here he was, a guy who'd spent the last 4 years mopping floors. 4 years, Marcus said before Sarah could answer. "I took time off to care for my daughter after my wife passed away. Before that, I ran a small electronics repair business and worked as a systems engineer for 7 years. The room went quiet. A few faces softened. Others remained carefully neutral. Jennifer Wu looked at Sarah. "And you think he can solve problems that Deloitte couldn't?" "I think," Sarah said, her voice cool as ice, "that he spent 20 minutes with our software and identified user experience issues that 6 consulting firms missed. So yes, Jennifer, I think he can help. Anyone else have concerns they'd like to share?" No one spoke. "Good, Marcus, the floor is yours." For the next hour, Marcus walked the team through everything he'd observed. The bloated menus, the hidden critical features, the disconnect between what developers thought users needed and what users actually needed. He pulled up customer complaints, matched them to specific UI problems, and outlined a complete restructuring of the user experience. By the end, even Jennifer Wu was taking notes. "This is actually brilliant," admitted the guy in the hoodie, Tyler, the UX designer. "We've been treating small businesses like they're enterprises with smaller numbers, but they're completely different users with completely different needs." Exactly. Marcus pulled up a mock-up he'd sketched the night before. A restaurant owner doesn't need 50 reports. They need 5 critical ones, immediately accessible. A retail shop doesn't need complex forecasting algorithms. They need to know what's selling and what's not, in real time, in plain English. Sarah was smiling. Not the polite CEO smile she'd worn in the boardroom, but something genuine. "How fast can we implement this?" "If we prioritize ruthlessly," Marcus glanced at Tyler. 4 weeks for a beta. 8 for full rollout. Jennifer Wu shook her head. "That's aggressive. We'd have to cut corners." "We don't have a choice," Sarah said. "We have 57 days left. Let's make them count." The first 2 weeks were brutal. Marcus worked 12-hour days, rebuilding interfaces, arguing with developers about which features were truly essential, and testing every change against the central question: would the exhausted small business owner at midnight understand this? Sarah was there for most of it, either in meetings or working late in her office. Marcus would see her light on at 10 p.m., still on phone calls, still fighting for the company's survival. On Friday of the second week, he found her asleep at her desk at 11:30, her head resting on a stack of financial reports. "Ms. Chen," he said softly. She jerked awake, immediately alert. "What time is it? Did I miss?" "It's late. You should go home." Sarah rubbed her eyes, and for a moment she looked vulnerable in a way that made Marcus's chest tighten. "I don't really have anything to go home to, just an empty apartment and more work." "When's the last time you ate something that wasn't from the vending machine?" She blinked at him. "Why do you care?" "Because you hired me to fix your company, and I can't do that if the CEO collapses from exhaustion." Marcus grabbed his jacket. "Come on, where are we going?" "There's a Vietnamese place 2 blocks from here. Open until midnight. Best pho in Seattle." Sarah looked like she wanted to argue, but her stomach growled loudly enough to be heard across the office. "Fine, but I'm paying." "Like hell you are. You're already paying my salary." They ended up splitting the check and spending an hour in a cramped booth, eating noodles and talking about everything except work. Sarah told him about growing up with parents who expected perfection, about building her first software program at 14, about the rush of landing her first major client. Marcus told her about Jessica, about falling in love in college, about the joy of opening his own business, and the devastation of watching it crumble along with his wife's health. Lily was 4 when Jessica died. he said quietly. Too young to understand why Mommy wasn't coming home, but old enough to know something was terribly wrong. I failed at everything that year. Failed to save my wife. Failed to save my business. Failed to be the father Lily deserved. But you didn't give up, Sarah said. You kept going. For her. What else could I do? Marcus smiled sadly. She needed a parent, so I figured out how to be one, even when I had no idea what I was doing. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I don't have that. A person who needs me to keep going. My parents think I'm wasting my life. My brother loves me but doesn't understand why I work so hard. And if the company fails, she trailed off. I'll have spent 10 years building something that disappeared, and I'll have nothing to show for it. You'll have shown every woman who comes after you that it's possible, Marcus said. That's worth something. Sarah met his eyes across the table, and something shifted between them. Something warm and dangerous and completely inappropriate given that she was his boss, and he was desperately trying to keep his life stable for his daughter. We should go, Sarah said softly. It's late. They walked back to the parking garage in silence, the Seattle drizzle turning into proper rain. At her car, Sarah turned to him. Thank you, she said, for dinner, for caring, for not treating me like a CEO for an hour. Any time, Marcus said, and meant it. He watched her drive away and tried very hard not to think about how much he'd enjoyed just talking to her, how her laugh had made something in his chest loosen, how for the first time in 3 years he'd felt like himself again instead of just Lily's father, or the school janitor, or the widow trying to survive. It was dangerous, all of it, but he couldn't seem to make himself care. 3 weeks into the job, Lily had an asthma attack at school. Marcus was in the middle of a product demo when his phone buzzed with the school nurse's number. He answered immediately, his heart dropping. Mr. Thompson, Lily's having trouble breathing. We've given her the emergency inhaler, but I think she needs to go to urgent care. I'm on my way. Marcus was already grabbing his jacket. Keep her calm, I'll be there in 15 minutes. He burst into Sarah's office without knocking. I have to go. Lily's having an asthma attack. I'll finish the demo tomorrow. Go, Sarah said immediately, standing up. Is she okay? Do you need anything? She'll be fine once she gets her breathing treatment. It happens sometimes. I'm sorry, I know we have the client presentation at 3. Marcus. Sarah grabbed her own jacket. I'm coming with you. What? No, you don't have to. I'm canceling the presentation. We'll reschedule. Let's go. Marcus wanted to argue, but there wasn't time. They took Sarah's car, faster than his beat-up sedan, and she drove while he called the urgent care to tell them they were coming. At Harrison Elementary, they found Lily in the nurse's office, sitting on the examination table with an oxygen mask on, her small face pale and frightened. Daddy, she gasped when she saw him. I'm here, baby girl. You're okay. Marcus scooped her up, mask and all, holding her while she clung to him. Just breathe slow, like we practiced. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Lily's breathing was labored but not critical. The nurse had caught it early. Marcus felt the familiar terror of these moments, the knowledge that his daughter's lungs could betray her at any moment, that all his love and protection couldn't fix the thing that made breathing hard for her. Mr. Thompson? The nurse handed him paperwork. The urgent care is expecting you. She should be fine once they give her the nebulizer treatment. Thank you. Marcus turned to find Sarah standing in the doorway, her expensive suit looking out of place in the elementary school nurse's office. Lily noticed her too. She pulled the oxygen mask aside. Who are you? I'm Sarah, Sarah said, stepping closer. I work with your dad. You're his boss. Lily's eyes went wide. Daddy talks about you at breakfast. Marcus felt his face heat. Lily, he says you're really smart and you work really hard and sometimes you forget to eat lunch. Lily looked at Sarah seriously. Do you like my daddy? Sarah's expression softened into something Marcus had never seen before. She crouched down to Lily's level, bringing herself eye to eye with his daughter. I think your daddy is pretty amazing, Sarah said gently. And I think you're pretty brave dealing with this breathing stuff. I have asthma, Lily explained, as if Sarah might not know. It means my lungs don't work as good as other people's, but Daddy says I'm still strong. Your daddy's right. Something happened in that moment. Marcus saw it in the way Lily relaxed against him, in the way Sarah's hand came up to gently touch Lily's knee, in the way these two people, his daughter and his boss, his responsibility and his growing complication, connected. Can she come to the doctor with us? Lily asked. Sweetie Ms. Chen has work. I'd like to come, Sarah interrupted. If that's okay with your dad. Marcus looked at her. This woman who'd canceled a critical client presentation to drive him to his daughter's school, who was now kneeling on a dingy linoleum floor in a $1,000 suit, offering to spend her afternoon in an urgent care waiting room. Yeah, he said quietly. That's okay. The urgent care visit took 2 hours. Lily responded well to the nebulizer treatment, her breathing evening out as the medication opened her airways. Sarah sat with them the entire time, answering work emails on her phone, but never making Lily feel like she was anywhere else. When Lily dozed off in the waiting room, her head against Marcus's shoulder, Sarah looked up from her phone. Does this happen often? Every few months, usually when the seasons change or if she catches a cold. Marcus stroked Lily's hair. The worst part is knowing I can't fix it. I can manage it, prevent some triggers, but I can't make her lungs work right. You're a good father, Sarah said softly. The way she looks at you, that's love and trust. You gave her that. Her mother gave her most of it. I'm just trying not to screw up what Jessica started. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? And you can tell me it's none of my business. Okay. Why did you really take this job? You said it was for the insurance and the stability. And I believe that. But there's something else, isn't there? Marcus looked at his sleeping daughter, then at the woman who'd somehow become more than his boss in 3 short weeks. I wanted to matter again, he admitted. For 4 years I've been invisible. The guy who cleans the floors, who people walk past without seeing. And that's fine. I did what I had to do for Lily. But when you looked at me at that school showcase, you saw someone who could actually help. Someone who had value beyond just being a father or a janitor. And He stopped, afraid he was saying too much. You wanted to be seen, Sarah finished. Yeah. She reached across the space between their chairs and squeezed his hand. Just once, just for a moment, but it sent electricity through him. I see you, Marcus. The nurse called Lily's name before he could respond, breaking the moment. But as they followed her back to the examination room, Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Something that felt like hope and terror combined. He was falling for his boss, and he had absolutely no idea what to do about it. A week later, Marcus's redesigned interface went into beta testing. The response was immediate. Small business owners loved it. Customer retention jumped 15% in 5 days. New sign-ups tripled. The simplified dashboard, the streamlined processes, the focus on what actually mattered. It was working. Sarah called an emergency board meeting to present the preliminary results. Marcus wasn't invited, but she texted him updates every hour. 3 hours in, they're impressed. Caldwell actually smiled. 4 hours in, they want to see full rollout numbers by next week. 5 hours in, I think we might actually survive this. That night, the team went out to celebrate. Someone ordered champagne. Tyler gave a toast about innovation and thinking outside the box. Jennifer Wu admitted she'd been wrong about Marcus and bought him a drink. Sarah stood at the edge of the group, watching her team laugh and relax for the first time in months, and Marcus saw the weight lift from her shoulders. He found her on the rooftop bar's terrace, looking out at the city lights. You did it, he said, coming to stand beside her. You're going to save the company. We did it, Sarah corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of rain. Below them, Seattle hummed with life, and between them, there was something unspoken but undeniable. Sarah, Marcus started. She turned to him, and he saw it in her eyes. She felt it too. The connection that had grown over late nights and shared meals and the moment in the urgent care waiting room when she'd held his hand. We can't, she whispered, even as she stepped closer. I know, he said, even as his hand came up to cup her face. You work for me. It's complicated. It's wrong. I know. They stood there for a moment, balanced on the edge of something that would change everything. And then Sarah kissed him. It was soft and desperate and tasted like champagne and hope. Marcus's hand tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just this, her mouth on his, her body pressed against him, the sound of her breath catching. When they broke apart, they were both shaking. This is a terrible idea, Sarah said, not moving away. The worst, Marcus agreed, his forehead resting against hers. I'm your boss. I know. If anyone finds out, I know. She kissed him again, harder this time. and Marcus stopped thinking about all the reasons this was impossible. He just held her and kissed her back and let himself feel something other than responsible for the first time in years. When they finally pulled apart, Sarah was smiling, trembling, but smiling. "We can't do this," she said, with absolutely no conviction. "Probably not," Marcus agreed, kissing her forehead. They stood together on the rooftop, holding each other while the city sparkled below, and pretended they hadn't just crossed a line that would make everything infinitely more complicated. The next morning, Marcus arrived at work to find flowers on his desk. No card, just a small arrangement of wild flowers in a simple vase. He smiled and got to work, trying to ignore the way his heart jumped every time Sarah walked past his desk, trying to focus on code instead of the memory of her lips, trying to be professional, when all he wanted to do was pull her into an empty conference room and kiss her again. They made it 3 days before breaking. Marcus was working late, finishing a bug fix before the full launch. He thought he was alone until Sarah appeared in his doorway. "Hi," she said. "Hi. I've been trying to stay away from you. I noticed. It's not working." Marcus saved his work and stood up. "What do you want to do about that?" Sarah crossed the office in 3 strides and kissed him. Not gently this time. Urgent and hungry and real. Marcus lifted her onto his desk, scattering papers, his hands on her waist as she wrapped her legs around him. "This is still a terrible idea," she gasped between kisses. "Yep, we should stop. We should." Neither of them stopped. They ended up at her apartment, barely making it through the door before they were kissing again, desperate and reckless. Marcus knew this was complicated, knew his job was on the line, knew that mixing business with this kind of feeling was dangerous. But when Sarah looked at him like he was the answer to questions she didn't know how to ask, when she touched him like he mattered, when she kissed him like he was more than just an employee or a father or a man trying to rebuild his life, he couldn't make himself care about the consequences. Later, lying in her bed with her head on his chest, Sarah whispered, "What are we doing?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted, "but I don't want to stop. Me neither. This is going to get messy." "Probably." Sarah tilted her head to look at him, her expression serious. "I don't date. I don't do relationships. I've spent 10 years building this company, and I don't know how to be someone's girlfriend. And I've got a 7-year-old daughter who's been through enough trauma for one lifetime," Marcus said. "I can't introduce complications into her life unless I'm sure they're permanent." They looked at each other, both knowing this should end right here, right now. "So what do we do?" Sarah asked. Marcus kissed her softly. "We figure it out as we go." "That's a terrible plan." "You have a better one?" Sarah smiled against his lips. "Not even a little bit." So they kept going, knowing it was reckless, knowing it would probably end badly, but unable to stop themselves from falling into something that felt, against all odds, like it might be right. For 3 weeks they kept it secret. Marcus would stay late at the office, ostensibly working on the product launch. Sarah would leave at her normal time, then circle back an hour later. They'd order takeout, work side by side, and pretend they weren't falling deeper into something neither of them knew how to name. On weekends, Sarah started showing up at Lily's soccer games. "Is that your boss?" Marcus's mother asked the first time, watching Sarah cheer from the bleachers in jeans and a sweatshirt, the most casual Marcus had ever seen her. She wanted to support the team, Marcus said, which wasn't technically a lie. After the game, Lily ran straight to Sarah. "Did you see my goal?" "Did you see it?" "I saw it. You were amazing." Sarah high-fived her, and Marcus felt his chest constrict at the sight of his daughter beaming up at this woman, who'd somehow become part of their lives. They got ice cream after. The 3 of them, sitting at a picnic table, and for a moment Marcus let himself imagine this was real, that Sarah wasn't his boss, that this wasn't temporary, that they could actually be a family instead of just 2 broken people and a child pretending at wholeness. "Daddy?" Lily asked, chocolate ice cream smeared on her face. "Is Ms. Sarah your girlfriend?" Marcus froze. Sarah's spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. "Why do you ask that, baby girl?" "Because you smile different when she's around." Lily stated it like an obvious fact. "And she came to my soccer game, and you look at her the way you used to look at Mommy in the pictures." Marcus's throat closed. He glanced at Sarah, who looked equally panicked. "Ms. Sarah is my friend," Marcus said carefully. "A very good friend. Is that okay with you?" Lily considered this seriously. I like her. She's nice to me, and she makes you happy. Then she went back to her ice cream as if she hadn't just articulated something Marcus had been too afraid to admit. That night, after he'd tucked Lily in, Marcus called Sarah. She knows, he said without preamble. Kids are perceptive. Sarah's voice was soft on the other end of the line. Are you okay? I don't know. She basically gave us her blessing, which should make me feel better. But instead, I just keep thinking about what happens when this falls apart. When you realize I come with too much baggage. When the company stabilizes and you don't need me anymore. When, Marcus, Sarah cut him off gently. What if it doesn't fall apart? Everything falls apart eventually. Not everything. Marcus wanted to believe her. But he'd watched his wife die despite every prayer and promise. He'd watched his business crumble despite every desperate effort. He'd learned that hope was dangerous, that caring too much just meant more pain when the inevitable ending came. I should go, he said. Lily has school tomorrow. Marcus. Good night, Sarah. He hung up before she could say whatever she was going to say, before he could let himself hope this might actually work out. The full product launch happened on a Tuesday. By Thursday, customer retention had jumped 42%. New subscriptions were up 60%. The board called an emergency meeting to review the numbers, and this time, they invited Marcus. He sat at the end of the conference table, feeling out of place in his one good suit, while Sarah presented chart after chart of success. Revenue projections trending upward. Customer satisfaction through the roof. The company wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Richard Caldwell spoke first. Ms. Chen, this is remarkable. You've exceeded every metric we set. The board would like to officially withdraw our previous concerns about your leadership. Sarah's smile was professional, but Marcus saw the relief in her eyes. Thank you, but I can't take all the credit. Marcus Thompson's redesign is what saved us. All eyes turned to Marcus. Mr. Thompson, Caldwell said. Impressive work. Where did Miss Chen find you? At my daughter's elementary school, Marcus said honestly. I was working as a custodian. Several board members blinked in surprise. A custodian, one of them repeated slowly. Previously a systems engineer and small business owner, Sarah interjected quickly. Marcus brought exactly the perspective we needed. Fascinating, Caldwell made a note. Well, regardless of your unconventional background, you've clearly delivered results. The board would like to extend your contract and discuss a permanent senior position. Marcus should have been thrilled. This was everything he'd hoped for when he took this job. Security, validation, a career again instead of just survival. But something in the way Caldwell said unconventional background made his skin crawl. The meeting wrapped up with handshakes and congratulations. Marcus escaped to his desk, needing space to process, and found Jennifer Wu waiting for him. Hey, she said. Great job in there. Thanks. Listen, I wanted to apologize. I was skeptical when Sarah first brought you on, but you proved me wrong, and I respect the hell out of that. Marcus managed a smile. I appreciate that. Jennifer hesitated. Can I ask you something? And feel free to tell me to mind my own business. Okay. Are you and Sarah? She trailed off meaningfully. Marcus's heart stopped. What? Come on, I've seen the way you two look at each other. The late nights working alone. Her showing up at your kids' soccer games. Jennifer's expression wasn't judgmental, just concerned. I'm not going to say anything, but you should know people are starting to notice. There's nothing inappropriate happening, Marcus said, which was technically true in the workplace, even if it was a complete lie everywhere else. Marcus, Jennifer lowered her voice. I like you. I like Sarah. But if the board finds out, it's going to look bad. Really bad. Power dynamics, favoritism, all that HR nightmare stuff. Just be careful. She walked away, leaving Marcus staring at his computer screen, seeing nothing. Jennifer was right. They'd been playing with fire, and eventually someone was going to get burned. Sarah's parents showed up unannounced on Friday. Marcus was in Sarah's office reviewing analytics when her assistant buzzed the intercom. Ms. Chen, your parents are here. Sarah went pale. Tell them I'm in a meeting. I did. They said they'll wait. Sarah closed her eyes and Marcus saw genuine fear flash across her face. I'm sorry, you should go. They're not going to be pleasant. Do you want me to stay? No. Sarah stood up, smoothing her suit. This is a family issue. I'll handle it. Marcus gathered his laptop, but as he left, he passed two impeccably dressed people in the waiting area. Sarah's mother, elegant, cold-eyed, wearing pearls and judgment in equal measure. Her father, stern, successful, looking at Marcus like he was something stuck to his shoe. "You must be the custodian," Sarah's mother said in Mandarin, not bothering to keep her voice down. Marcus didn't speak Mandarin, but he recognized the tone. Dismissal, contempt. He kept walking, but he could hear raised voices from Sarah's office moments later. Not the words, but the emotion, anger, disappointment. The sound of a daughter being reminded she'd failed to meet expectations. An hour later, Sarah emerged. Her makeup perfect, but her eyes red-rimmed. "I need to leave early," she told her assistant. "Cancel my afternoon meetings." She walked past Marcus without looking at him, and he knew better than to follow. She didn't answer his texts that night, or his call. On Saturday morning, Marcus took Lily to the park and tried to focus on his daughter instead of the growing dread in his stomach. "Is Miss Sarah okay?" Lily asked, pumping her legs on the swing. "She seems sad lately. She's just dealing with some family stuff, baby girl. Is it because of us?" Marcus stopped pushing the swing. "What makes you think that?" Lily dragged her feet, slowing down. "I heard Grandma talking to Aunt Carol. She said something about how that woman is going to break Marcus's heart just like last time, and he shouldn't get involved with someone out of his league." Anger flashed through Marcus, hot and sudden. "Your grandmother shouldn't have said that where you could hear. Is Ms. Sarah out of your league?" "No, sweetie, nobody is out of anybody's league. We're all just people." But as Marcus watched Lily return to swinging, he wondered if maybe his mother was right. Sarah came from money, from a world of board meetings and country clubs and parents who wore pearls to casual visits. He came from medical debt and secondhand clothes and a daughter who needed an inhaler to breathe. Maybe they'd been kidding themselves, thinking this could work. Sarah finally called on Sunday night. "I'm sorry I disappeared," she said without preamble. "My parents ambushed me. They found out about us." Marcus's stomach dropped. "How?" "They hired a private investigator. Apparently they've been monitoring me since the board troubles started, making sure I wasn't doing anything to embarrass the family." Her laugh was bitter. "And dating the help definitely counts as embarrassing." "The help," Marcus repeated flatly. "Their words, not mine. Marcus, they're threatening to sell their shares. They own 30% of the company. If they dump their stock, it'll crash the share price, undermine investor confidence, potentially undo everything we just fixed." "So what are you saying?" Silence. Long enough that Marcus knew what was coming before she said it. "They gave me an ultimatum," Sarah whispered. "End things with you, or they'll destroy the company. And you're actually considering it." "Marcus, it's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple." Marcus felt something crack in his chest. "You're choosing the company, again, just like you always do. That's not fair. This company is my entire life. 10 years of work, hundreds of employees depending on me. I can't just let it burn because I—" She stopped. "Because you what?" Marcus demanded. "Because you have feelings for me? Because for once in your life you might put something personal ahead of business? I have responsibilities. So do I. I have a 7-year-old daughter who's already lost one person she loved, who's gotten attached to you, who asks me every day when she's going to see you again." Marcus's voice cracked. "And I have to what? Tell her that sometimes adults choose their jobs over people? That love isn't worth fighting for if it's inconvenient? Don't you dare make this about Lily," Sarah said, anger sharpening her voice. "I adore that little girl, but I'm not her mother, Marcus. I never promised to be." The words hit like a physical blow. "You're right," Marcus said quietly. "You never promised anything. That was my mistake, thinking this was more than just convenient for you, thinking I was more than just the guy who fixed your software. Marcus, that's not what I meant. I'll submit my resignation tomorrow, effective immediately." "No, Marcus, you can't just quit. The team needs you. The product is done. You've got documentation. Any decent engineer can maintain it. You don't need me anymore." Marcus felt tears burning his eyes. "And I can't work for someone who thinks I'm beneath her family's standards." "I never said that." "You didn't have to." Marcus took a shaky breath. "Goodbye, Sarah." He hung up before she could respond. before he could hear her cry or beg or say anything that might make him believe this could end differently. In her room, Lily was supposed to be asleep, but Marcus knew she'd heard everything. He went to her, sat on the edge of her bed and held his daughter while she cried. "I liked her," Lily sobbed. "I really liked her, Daddy." "I know, baby girl. I did too. Why can't she just pick us?" Marcus closed his eyes. "Because sometimes people have to make hard choices, and sometimes we're not what they choose. That's not fair." "No," Marcus agreed, his voice breaking. "It's really not." He held Lily until she fell asleep, then went to his own room and let himself fall apart. He'd been right to be afraid of hope. It only made the crash hurt more. Monday morning, Marcus submitted his resignation to HR. By noon, Sarah had rejected it. By 3 p.m., she was at his desk. "We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Marcus, please. I made a mistake. I was scared and I said things I didn't mean." "You meant them." Marcus didn't look up from packing his personal items. "Your parents were right. I'm not from your world. I don't fit, and trying to force it just hurts everyone." "So that's it? You're just giving up?" Marcus finally looked at her, and he saw his own pain reflected in her eyes. "I'm not giving up, Sarah. I'm protecting my daughter. Because unlike you, I don't have the luxury of choosing my ambitions over the people who depend on me." It was a low blow, and he knew it. Sarah flinched like he'd slapped her. "Fine," she said, her voice ice. "If you want to quit, quit. I'll have HR process your resignation. You'll get severance and benefits continuation for 90 days. I don't want your money." "Too bad, you earned it." Sarah turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, you were never beneath me. You were the first person in years who made me remember there's more to life than balance sheets and board meetings. And I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to fight for that." She walked away, her heels clicking on the polished floor, and Marcus stood in his half-packed office feeling like he'd just made either the best or worst decision of his life. He couldn't tell which. The story broke on Wednesday. Someone, probably someone on the board, leaked it to the business press. Chen Technologies CEO's secret relationship with junior employee raises ethics questions. The article was brutal. It questioned Sarah's judgment, implied favoritism, suggested that Marcus's hiring had been based on personal reasons rather than merit. It included quotes from unnamed sources, saying the relationship had started before Marcus was hired, which was a complete lie. By Thursday, it was national news. Marcus's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, former colleagues, people he hadn't heard from in years, suddenly interested in his story. His mother kept Lily home from school to avoid the media circus that had descended on Harrison Elementary. Parents wanted to know if the man who'd been cleaning their children's classrooms had been having an affair with a wealthy CEO, if his intentions had ever been pure, or if he'd been using his position to social climb. The accusations made Marcus sick. That night, while Lily was asleep, he watched Sarah give a press conference. She stood in front of microphones, poised and professional, and calmly explained that Marcus Thompson had been hired based solely on merit and qualifications, that any personal relationship had developed after his employment and had never affected business decisions, that the company's turnaround was the result of excellent work by the entire team. She didn't mention that she loved him, didn't say they'd been trying to build something real, didn't defend their relationship as anything other than a regrettable lapse in professional judgment. And Marcus understood. This was damage control, corporate survival, everything Sarah had been trained to do, but it still felt like being erased. On Friday, the board called another emergency meeting. Marcus wasn't invited this time. He learned what happened from Jennifer Wu, who called him that evening. "They demanded Sarah fire you officially," Jennifer said. Said it was the only way to restore confidence in her leadership. "And?" She refused. Said you'd already resigned and that was the end of it. Then she told Caldwell that if the board didn't trust her judgment after she'd just saved the company, maybe they should find a new CEO. Marcus's breath caught. What did they say? Caldwell backed down. Barely. But Sarah's on thin ice now. Any other scandal, any other mistake, and they'll force her out. Jennifer paused. Marcus, I don't know what happened between you two, but she just put her entire career on the line defending you. After hanging up, Marcus sat in his dark living room, staring at nothing. Sarah had fought for him. Not publicly, not in a way that would fix anything between them, but she'd fought. She'd risked everything she'd built to protect him from being officially fired, to let him keep some dignity, and he'd called her a coward. Marcus put his head in his hands and tried to figure out how they'd gone from falling in love to destroying each other in less than a week. He didn't have an answer. All he knew was that his daughter was heartbroken, his career was in shambles, and the woman he loved was on the other side of a divide he didn't know how to cross. And for the first time since Jessica died, Marcus wasn't sure he had the strength to keep fighting. 2 weeks passed like years. Marcus took a job at a private school across town. Better pay than the custodian position, worse than Chen Technologies, but stable. The kind of stable that meant health insurance and predictable hours and no risk of his personal life destroying his career. Lily adjusted. Kids were resilient like that. She stopped asking about Sarah after the first week, though Marcus sometimes caught her looking sad when she thought he wasn't watching. His mother tried to be supportive. "You did the right thing," she'd say. "That woman was going to break your heart." Except his heart was already broken. He just had to keep living with the pieces. Marcus threw himself into work, fixed computers, managed the school's network, helped students with tech projects. It was fine, safe, exactly the kind of life he'd had before Sarah. Except now he knew what he was missing. He'd deleted her number from his phone, blocked her on social media, cut off every possible way she could contact him, because he knew if she called, he'd answer. And if he answered, he'd forgive her. And if he forgave her, they'd just end up here again. Two people from different worlds trying to make something work that was never meant to survive reality. On Thursday of the second week, Lily came home from school with an envelope. "What's this, baby girl?" "Ms." Sarah gave it to Grandma at pickup. Lily watched him with serious eyes. "Grandma said I could decide if you should see it." Marcus's hand shook as he took the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten on expensive stationery. "Marcus, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to read this, but I need you to know some things. You were right. I chose the company. I chose safety and fear over fighting for something real. I let my parents' threats scare me into pushing away the first person in years who made me feel like a human being instead of just a CEO. I told myself I was protecting you, that Lily had been through enough trauma and didn't need the media circus that comes with my world. That you deserved someone simpler, easier, less complicated. But the truth is, I was protecting myself. Because loving you, really loving you, meant risking everything. And I've spent my whole life building walls to make sure I never had to risk that kind of loss. I was a coward. You said it, and you were right. The board approved my resignation this morning. I'm stepping down as CEO effective next month. Jennifer will take over. She's brilliant, and the company will thrive under her leadership. My parents got what they wanted. I'm leaving the business world, moving to Portland to teach computer science at a community college. Starting over like I should have done years ago. I don't expect this changes anything between us, but I needed you to know that you changed me. You and Lily reminded me that there's more to life than quarterly earnings and board approval, that sometimes the bravest thing isn't building an empire, it's letting yourself love someone. Thank you for that gift, even though I destroyed it. I hope you and Lily find all the happiness I was too afraid to fight for. Sarah. Marcus read the letter 3 times, each time feeling his carefully constructed walls crack a little more. She'd quit. Sarah Chen, who'd built her entire identity around her company, had walked away. "Daddy?" Lily's voice was small. "Are you crying?" Marcus wiped his eyes. "Yeah, baby girl, I am." "Because you miss her?" "Yeah." Lily climbed into his lap, wrapping her small arms around his neck. "Mommy used to say that love is scary because it means letting someone see all your broken parts. And sometimes people run away from scary things even when they really want them." Marcus held his daughter, wondering when she'd gotten so wise. Mommy was a smart lady. She also said that the best things in life are worth being brave for. Lily pulled back to look at him. "Is Ms. Sarah worth being brave for?" Marcus thought about Sarah on that rooftop, admitting she didn't know how to be someone's girlfriend. Sarah in the urgent care waiting room, holding his hand. Sarah teaching Lily how to kick a soccer ball, laughing when she missed and fell in the grass. "Yes," he whispered, "she is." "Then maybe you should tell her that." Lily smiled, and it was Jessica's smile, encouraging, full of faith. Before she moves to Portland and you never see her again. Finding Sarah wasn't hard. She was still living in her apartment, Still had one more week at Chen Technologies before her official departure. What was hard was working up the courage to actually go there. Marcus stood outside her building for 20 minutes, holding a coffee and trying to figure out what to say. Every speech he'd practiced on the drive over sounded wrong. Finally, he just went inside. Sarah answered the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun, no makeup. She looked more beautiful than he'd ever seen her. "Marcus," she breathed. "What are you?" "I was an idiot," he said. "A scared, self-righteous idiot, and I'm sorry." Sarah stared at him. "You have nothing to apologize for. I'm the one who—" "Let me finish." Marcus took a breath. "When Jessica died, I convinced myself that hoping for anything was dangerous, that caring too much just meant more pain. So I built this small, safe life where nothing could hurt me, because I wasn't letting anything in." He stepped closer. "Then you showed up at an elementary school STEM fair and saw me. Really saw me. Not the janitor or the widower or the struggling single dad, but me. And you scared the hell out of me. Marcus, I'm not done." He smiled through tears. "You scared me because you made me want things again. Made me believe I could be more than just Lily's father. Made me think maybe I deserved a second chance at happiness. And when your parents threatened that, when reality came crashing in, I ran. I chose fear over fighting, just like you did." Sarah was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "I read your letter," Marcus continued. "And I need you to know something. You weren't a coward. You were terrified, just like me. And yeah, you made mistakes. But you also risked everything to defend me to that board. You quit your company rather than let them force you to officially fire me. You chose me, Sarah. Maybe not at first, maybe not in the way I wanted, but you chose me." "I chose you too late," Sarah whispered. "It's not too late." Marcus closed the distance between them, cupping her face in his hands. "I love you. I love how you cheer at Lily's soccer games like they're the World Cup. I love how you forget to eat when you're working. I love how you looked at my daughter in that nurse's office like she was the most important person in the world. I love you, and I'm done being afraid of that." "I'm still moving to Portland," Sarah said, even as she leaned into his touch. "I already signed the teaching contract. Then I'll move to Portland. Marcus, you have a job, Lily's school. Portland has schools, and IT jobs. And honestly," Marcus smiled, "after all this, a fresh start sounds pretty good. You'd uproot your entire life? For me? For us," Marcus corrected. "For the chance to build something real with you. No hiding, no fear, no letting other people's expectations dictate our lives." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm all in, Sarah, if you'll have me." Sarah kissed him then, desperate and hopeful and full of promise. "I love you," she said against his lips. "God, I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good," Marcus said, kissing her again. "Let's be terrified together." They stood in her doorway, holding each other, and for the first time in weeks, Marcus felt like he could breathe properly. "There's one person we need to talk to," Sarah said eventually, "before we make any plans. Lily. I won't be part of her life unless she wants me there. And if I'm in, Marcus, I'm all in. Not as your girlfriend who plays at being a stepmom, as a real partner in raising her. That's a big commitment." "She asked me if you were worth being brave for," Marcus admitted. "She told me to come find you before you moved away." Sarah's eyes widened. "She did? She's known we belonged together since before we did." Marcus took Sarah's hand. "Come to dinner tonight. Let's tell her together." Lily took the news better than either of them expected. "So, Ms. Sarah is going to be like my mom?" she asked, sitting at the kitchen table with serious 7-year-old gravity. "Not like your mom?" Sarah said gently, kneeling beside Lily's chair. "Nobody will ever replace your mom. She was special and she loved you so much. But if you'll let me, I'd like to be another person who loves you and helps take care of you." Lily studied Sarah for a long moment. "Will you come to my soccer games?" "Every single one." "And help me with my homework?" "Absolutely." "And teach me about computers like Daddy does?" "I'd love to." "And," Lily's voice got smaller, "and you won't leave? Even when things get hard?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I promise, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere." Lily looked at Marcus. "Daddy, are you okay with this?" Marcus pulled both his girls into a hug. "I'm more than okay with it, baby girl." "Okay then." Lily announced it like a business decision. and Marcus had to hide his smile at how much like Sarah she sounded. "You can be my bonus, Mom." "But Ms. Sarah is too long. Can I just call you Sarah?" "You can call me whatever feels right," Sarah said. Lily thought about it. "How about Mama Sarah? That way I can remember I have two mamas who love me." Sarah broke down completely then, holding Lily and crying while Marcus wrapped his arms around both of them. His mother, watching from the kitchen doorway, caught his eye and nodded. Her earlier skepticism had evaporated the moment she saw how Sarah looked at Lily. Not like an obligation or a complication, but like a gift. The move to Portland took 2 months to coordinate. Marcus found a job at a tech startup that actually appreciated his small business perspective. Sarah started teaching at Portland Community College and discovered she loved it. The students, the hands-on work, the lack of board meetings and corporate politics. They found a house with a big backyard for Lily to play in, close to a good elementary school and a park with soccer fields. On moving day, surrounded by boxes in their new living room, Sarah found Marcus standing at the window, watching Lily explore the backyard. "Having second thoughts?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "Not even a little bit." Marcus turned to face her. "Though I do have a question." "What's that?" He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Sarah's breath caught. "I was going to wait," Marcus said. "Make it romantic. Do the whole thing properly. But we've never done anything the traditional way, so why start now?" He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. "Sarah Chen, you saved my life when you saw me at that school fair. You reminded me I was more than my past or my failures, and you loved my daughter like she was your own before you even loved me." His voice cracked. "Will you marry me? Build this crazy, messy, beautiful life with us?" Sarah was laughing and crying at the same time. "You're proposing in an empty house surrounded by moving boxes? I'm proposing in our home, surrounded by the beginning of our future." Marcus smiled. "Is that a yes?" "Yes," Sarah whispered. Then louder, "Yes, of course, yes." Marcus slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her, and somewhere in the backyard, Lily must have been watching through the window because they heard her shriek of joy. She came running inside, threw herself at both of them. "Are you getting married? Are we really going to be a family?" "We already are a family," Sarah said, lifting Lily into her arms. "But yes, we're getting married. Can I be the flower girl?" "You can be the flower girl, the ring bearer, and whatever else you want," Marcus promised. Lily hugged them both, and Marcus looked at Sarah over their daughter's head, saw his entire future in her eyes. They'd both lost so much, but somehow, in losing, they'd found each other, and that was worth every risk, every fear, every moment of uncertainty. 6 months later, they got married in a small ceremony in their backyard. Lily did serve as flower girl, wearing a purple dress she'd picked out herself. Marcus's mother cried through the entire ceremony. Jennifer Wu came, bringing half the Chen Technologies team. Even David and his family drove down from Seattle. Sarah's parents didn't attend, but as Marcus slipped the wedding band onto Sarah's finger, as Lily stood between them holding their hands, as they kissed to the cheers of the people who actually mattered, he didn't care about the people who weren't there. He only cared about the ones who were. "I love you," Sarah whispered against his lips. "I love you too," Marcus said. "Both of you, forever." And for the first time in years, forever didn't sound scary. It sounded like coming home. 1 year later, Lily's 9th birthday party was chaos in the best possible way. Kids ran through the backyard playing soccer and eating cake. Marcus manned the grill while Sarah helped Lily open presents. His mother argued good-naturedly with Sarah's teaching colleagues about the best way to make dumplings. It was loud and messy, and perfect. "Daddy! Mama Sarah!" Lily ran over, dragging a teenager with her. "This is my new friend Emma from school. Her mom is starting a small business and needs inventory software. I told her you guys could help." Marcus and Sarah exchanged amused glances. "Did you just try to get us a client at your birthday party?" Sarah asked. "You always say we should help people when we can," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Emma's mom is nice." She ran off again, leaving Marcus and Sarah laughing. "Our daughter is going to rule the world someday," Sarah said. "Our daughter," Marcus repeated, loving how natural that sounded. "Yeah, she probably will." Sarah's hand rested on her stomach and Marcus noticed the gesture. "Are you feeling okay? You've been tired lately." "I'm fine." Sarah smiled mysteriously. But we should probably talk later, after the party. Something in her tone made Marcus's heart skip. Sarah. Later, she promised, kissing him quickly. Right now we have 29-year-olds hopped up on sugar to supervise. That evening, after the guests had left and Lily was exhausted in bed, Sarah pulled Marcus onto the porch swing. So, she said, remember how we talked about maybe wanting another kid someday? Marcus's heart stopped. Sarah, are you? She pulled out a pregnancy test from her pocket. 2 pink lines. Surprise, she whispered. Marcus stared at the test, then at his wife, then started laughing. Full, joyous, disbelieving laughter. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. Sarah was crying happy tears. Are you okay with this? I know we didn't plan. Marcus kissed her, deep and long and full of love. I'm more than okay with this. I'm everything with this. They sat together on the porch swing, holding each other while the Portland evening settled around them, and Marcus thought about the journey that had brought them here, from a dying company and a desperate CEO to a school custodian with nothing to lose. From a chance meeting at a STEM fair to a complicated love that had survived scandal and fear and other people's expectations. They'd both been broken, both been scared, both been convinced that happiness wasn't meant for people like them. But they'd been wrong. And now they had a daughter who played soccer and solved problems like a CEO, a home filled with love and laughter, a baby on the way, a future that looked nothing like either of them had planned and everything like what they'd both secretly wanted. Hey, Sarah said softly. What are you thinking about? Marcus kissed her forehead. I'm thinking that sometimes the best things in life come from being brave enough to hope, even when hope seems impossible, says the man who fixed what experts couldn't, says the woman who taught me how to believe in second chances. They stayed there until the stars came out, talking about nurseries and baby names and how to tell Lily she was going to be a big sister. And in the morning when Lily woke up and they told her the news, her shriek of excitement could probably be heard 3 blocks away. I'm going to be the best big sister ever, she announced. I'll teach them about robots and soccer and how to make Daddy laugh when he's sad. Marcus looked at Sarah, at their daughter, at the life they'd built from broken pieces, and he knew, with absolute certainty, that every risk had been worth it. Every moment of fear, every painful choice, every second of uncertainty, all of it had led them here, to this imperfect, beautiful, messy, wonderful family, to home.